watching the monkey.
Hello, folks. Kevin Polk here, one of your co-hosts of The Art of Being with the Act Matrix podcast. And there's Phil. He'll introduce himself.
Well, today I am the other co-host of The Art of Being with the Act Matrix.
And we have a guest today, Paul Rock. And he's going to tell us about what he does, how he uses the Act Matrix. And he'll tell us where he's from, where he hails from, and all that good stuff. So the floor is yours, Paul. Go for it.
Okay, Kevin, thanks very much. Well, I'm Paul Rock, as you said. I'm originally from Dublin, which is in Ireland. Obviously, unfortunately, I have a history of crime and drugs, all that stuff. Heroin. I was a heroin addict for 25 years. But before that, I was a champion boxer and all this type of stuff. But I had a lot of, as you say, a lot lower left quadrant stuff going on. And I used to fix it with boxing, violence, that type of stuff. And then heroin came on the scene. And that was the new fix it.
Wow.
So basically, how I came to Manchester was like for a rehab, because the place that I was in Dublin closed down. And after, say, a year or so, I got out. Was basically, I'd say, a kite without strings. I was sober, strong, and pure. A combination I wasn't used to. So I was in dodgy territory at this stage. I was getting a lot of, old feelings coming up. You know, you want to start getting into something. And because of the life I led, I have no education and record. I've no particular skills, and I have a criminal record as long as you're around. So my job opportunities are very limited. So at that time, just by pure accident, I came upon ACT, which was Mark Webster's baby over here. It's called ACT Peer Recovery. So I walked in, I thought it was drama. You
thought what? It was what?
I thought it was drama, like on the stage.
Oh, yeah, like improvisation or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
ACT, like, you know what I mean? So okay. I went in, I never heard it. I didn't go up specifically to go there. I was up in this place for something else. And he said, do you want to drop into ACT? So I said, okay. Yeah. Went in. They were doing the Matrix, which they call over here, they say the 3 reasons, right? Which is direction, then you're not once, direction, autopilot, and you're not once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
okay.
For the first time, I liked what I heard.
Wow.
I could understand it. I was saying, wow. Because it's like, I knew some of the stuff within myself, but I hadn't got it in the flow. They went in the right places. When I heard about, like, say, these feelings, your autopilot fixing them, getting caught in the circle of addiction, and basically pressing your pause button, concentrating on your direction, and your direction is the only thing that'll keep you clean. And basically, like that, it's okay to feel bad, but it's not okay to let drugs fix it, or alcohol.
Yeah.
So I stayed around for a couple of months. And then I was invited to do a little bit of fast track training. And I got my license from doing that. So I deliver groups now in Salford. It's probably one of the most successful groups in England, to be honest with you. There's always about 12, sometimes 16 people with another section that come in and out. So these people, like, a lot of them were on death's door with liver cirrhosis. They were they've good careers, some of them. They're not all sort of people that were in trouble. And they're doing very well. I'd say there's about 5 or 6 that are staying clean directly because of the Matrix and what it's done for their life and the pause. And now we're doing a group out in Bolton as well. And that's another drug ravaged area. And that's actually starting off okay. So, that's me, and I apply the Matrix in my own life every single day, and basically that's me, my friend. I'm living proof that the Matrix works.
Yeah,
okay, well, what we do need to catch people up. As I was telling you before we started, these people that are driving cars accidentally stumbled on us.
Okay.
The Matrix, the way we do it, and I'm going to translate a bit. There's senses at the top and mind at the bottom. That's essentially what Paul was talking about. The toward moves over toward the right. The away moves over toward the left. That's fine. Now, he already mentioned the pause button, Phil. That goes in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Just over,
that
yeah,
right
we just
in
put it
there.
over the line. Yeah. Yeah.
right. And that's and what we're doing. I almost called him Paul Webster. I'm going to get it straight in him. Mark Webster. Mark Webster, one of the co-authors of the second Act Matrix book.
Yeah.
He just adjusted it a bit for the substance use
Of course.
folks. Now, the lower left is the not once,
Mm.
which I'll call yucky stuff. You can call it whatever you want. You don't want
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
you know, and you want to get rid of it. Now, Paul mentioned that he used boxing and heroin and other things and to deal with the not once. And those things like boxing and heroin and other things go in the upper left.
Hmm.
And so the trick, and it's a bit of a learned skill, is to not automatically autopilot go into that stuff to automatically get rid of the not once, but to instead hit pause and consider, well, where do I want to go in life? You know, which is, we say stuff like who and what's important to you in the lower right. You know, people will say values. They'll say lots of things, but it's that stuff that you want your life to stand for, what you want to move toward in life, and that's the inside stuff in the lower right. And then finally, the upper right stuff is the stuff that you do to move toward that stuff, you know, that you want your life to stand for. And the pause comes in where you pause and say, hold on a minute. Before I go doing that old stuff that was not working. That's the other thing on this, is that wasn't working to get me anywhere. So I'll pause, and now I'll bring that other stuff to mind. And with that, at that point, you can then choose to do that other stuff instead of the auto stuff. So it's very similar to slightly different language, you know, and built over. So, and these, but I am not familiar with the name of the community ACT groups, and they are called what?
ACT Peer Recovery.
ACT Peer Recovery.
Yeah.
So,
and Kevin, it's going to be getting changed actually again to Pause Recover.
Pause Recover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you told me that.
Nice.
So the whole thing is going to be called Pause, comma, Recover.
It's ACT Peer Recovery at the moment, just about to be changed.
To Pause Recover.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on
the pause button.
Ah.
Yeah, and you recover if you can press the pause rather than going to the away side. You know, and also, Kevin, I just say the upper right, on the upper right hand side, we have a thing what we say, your bus is your life, your bus journey, yeah. And we always finish the matrix off with this, yeah. And we say that basically you're the driver of your bus.
Yeah, there you go.
Same way as your pause button.
We were. Yeah. Mark was with us early on during the live bus exercises.
Okay. Right.
I'm very familiar with the bus.
All right.
And I've done buses with Mark. So you're the driver, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. Instead of your autopilot being your driver, you're aware. You have awareness, and you become the driver. In technical terms, folks, that's the what would we call it? The observer self.
Yes.
The old self that's been with you ever since you could talk, and that older, wiser self can become the driver, and that's the one that's what ACT is really getting at, is getting that.
Of course it is, yeah.
That self in charge of things, right?
Yeah.
At least most of the time.
Of course. Trying to stop yourself running away from the present.
Yep, exactly.
If you're not in the present, you're going to crash a bus every time. It's simple as that. Because if that's driving in the present and you're in imagination, or you're back reliving something, going over it again, an autopsy, trying to change the outcome of something that's already happened, your eyes aren't on the prize.
Yep. Your eyes aren't on the prize, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Hands
your
aren't
life.
on the wheel, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
And if your hands aren't on the wheel and your eyes aren't on the prize,
Your history. Our history.
bad stuff's going to happen.
In the
Right.
ditch.
That's
In the
it.
ditch you go.
There we go in the ditch.
That's
Yep.
it. That's it.
And sometimes you get so severely in the ditch, it takes a little while to get out of the ditch.
Well,
Right.
And you're lucky if you come back, especially when it comes to the people that we work with.
Yeah.
We say that are just another relapse away from death. I mean, everyone that relapses, there's a good chance they're going to die. And they could die so many different ways. It could be stuff that's poisoned. They could overdose. Or they'd reactivate their sickness. Like some of the people that we say are alcoholics, if they go back drinking, you know, the chances are that their liver won't recover.
It won't recover. Yep.
Yeah. So we really work a lot with like we've a lot of different exercises, Kevin, but they're all about, we say, some of them are about getting them to notice, because it's all about noticing, as you know. Because if you don't
All about noticing.
Got it.
Yeah. By the way, Paul, I often, and Phil is my witness, I often say this.
Yeah.
The person who said, you know, Kevin, in your groups, when he came to visit the groups, he said the thing that you could change and see the action was how many times you say the word noticing. That's how important that word is.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you do a group and you say the word noticing 100 times, you're going to see more improvement in the people you're with.
Exactly.
Versus if you only said it 10 times, you're not going to see as much.
Oh, yeah.
That's how important noticing is. It's noticing.
Yeah. Exactly.
And through that noticing, and what emerges out of that is the driver of the bus.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you get is the driver has the eyes on the prize and the hands on the wheel.
Exactly.
And Paul's quite, and folks, when he says that, I used to work with similar populations of folks, of people with very long addiction histories that really one more relapse and they were going to die.
Yeah.
And so that's not just getting in the ditch, you know.
Yeah. That's basically.
That's getting in the grave.
Right.
Do you know, I swear, Phil, I often say to people, I say, do you know what? I said, I basically slept in a coffin every night. I literally, you might as well say I slept in a coffin. The only thing was that it wasn't nailed down properly.
It had the nails in it,
I got up every day on autopilot, on that circle of addiction, and just the consequences just added up. Like myself personally, I wouldn't take the lesson. I wouldn't go down for it. And how I ended up coming into recovery was because in 6 months I had pneumonia. Sorry, I beg your pardon. In 18 months I had pneumonia 6 times.
Oh my!
Yeah, respiratory failure was the last one. Then I broke me back in a car crash, and then I got septicemia because I couldn't breathe, I couldn't smoke it.
All the toxins.
The veins were gone, and I had this skin puppet, and I got a massive abscess. So basically, I could hardly walk. So I had no choice. It was live or die. Didn't know anything about directions. But I was actually doing a presentation last week. I have 2 presentations for different areas of Manchester. They saw the professionals, we say, And I done the matrix, and then what I did was I said, listen, do you know what? I said, I'm going to show you how the matrix applied to my own life. I said, where it all went wrong, how what I was doing, and I didn't notice because I was all done without noticing. You know, I was living on the away side. Right. And then how I stayed clean, and how because of my direction and the pause button and noticing, because I said a lot of times I'd be sitting in the flat over here. I said I've no family, I've a lot of things to feel guilty and ashamed about. I said, so my autopilot gets a great run at attacking me. I said, now if I listen to that, I'm over here by my own shit. Who'll know if I had one little smoke type of thing? You know, I'm talking about heroin here, And then I just say no. Press the pause button. Notice that it's happening. Number 1. Press me pause button. Think of my direction. Which is my son. Right, he's only 7 years of age. More than he should have. So I say that's my direction. And I know that I will not take a chance. I press the pause big time, think of that direction, and just basically tell them not once where to go.
Yeah.
And that's, so they were really impressed with that, the way I put, because I was after saying like about, stuff like, because I got brutalized in school and all that, like really badly, and that's all them not wants start piling up.
Yep.
And then with boxing and all, a lot of violence start being to fix it. But then obviously prison came, and then in prison, heroin arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And that fixed the problems, the not once, better than anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
But it also fixed my life for the next 25 years.
Yep.
It sabotaged me.
Yeah.
So I crawled out that cesspool and I put it all, I crawled out of it by going to a rehab, and I had directions without knowing I had directions, but they kept changing. But as I said, when I went into ACT for the first time by pure accident, then I started making a solid direction and changing my behavior to reach that direction.
Yeah, right.
So it's all noticing the behavior, noticing the not once, and
when we were laughing about heroin fixing his problem, that's because we're all ACT matrix users. And we know that if you got not once and you do something like heroin, it temporarily gets rid of the not once.
Of course, sure.
That's what we mean by fix. It's fix in quotes. It's a short term, not workable fix.
Exactly.
But it gets rid of those not once, and so people go for it. Well, and then of course, the withdrawal symptoms show up. And those, of course, you don't want those either. So you take heroin to get rid of the withdrawal symptoms, and
back to it.
It's a horrible.
Oh, stuff it.
Right. Yeah. So, Paul, anyway, we weren't really. He didn't mean it fixed anything. No. It's a short term. You do the analysis. You say, well, does it work to get rid of the not once? And you go, sure it does. Well, how long does it work? Well, just a little while, right?
Sure.
That comes right back. Oh, well, then what do? Well, I do more. Well, that can get to be a problem in a real hurry. So then it's the treatment is essentially about hitting pause on that. And it's pause and recover, right? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Pause and recover. So it's to hit pause on that. And then it's like, okay, what do you do to recover? Well, a lot of people have no clue. Like, what do you mean recover? What would I do? What would I do with my life? And so what Paul's running groups that would help them know that, realize what they would like to do differently, and then do the groups, the community groups. And you meet 2 times a week? Or you do 2 groups a week?
I do 2 groups a week. It's like they saw what we do is we just show them how to use, how to notice, especially how to notice their autopilot. Basically, press that pause button, get a direction. But the thing about it is, Kevin, most of the people that come into our groups, and this, unfortunately, this is the way of alcohol and drug addiction. People don't sort of wake up one day and say, you know what, my life isn't that really, I'm not fulfilling my life to my full potential. And I think that I'll just, I think I'll go to a group and see about getting better. No, it doesn't happen.
What about the journey of self-discovery, Paul?
Yes, exactly, Phil. What happens is usually they wake up in such a bad state, and it's been knocking for years. Like with me, as I said to you, I basically couldn't stand straight. I couldn't breathe. I was absolutely so ill. Other people that told they're going to die from their liver, they've lost their careers, they've lost their families, they've lost their finances. What happens is usually they've no choice.
Yep.
And what we do is try and give them.
Exactly. I understand that, but one of your first things to come up with is an alternative thing to move toward. Something to do. But they come in at the end of the ropes.
Exactly.
Right. Out of all options.
But you know what, Kevin? Sometimes people would say something like, what's the point, if they're only coming at that stage? Well, the thing about it is, when they come at that stage, it stops them dying.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Some people say, if they've lost everything, it's a bit late for ACT. It's a bit late for the Matrix. Well, no, it's not. Because all that counts is today. And really, when you forgive yourself,
right there with you in the room, right?
Exactly. And when you forgive yourself and just realize, listen, the past is gone.
Yeah.
Stop whipping yourself over the past and just make the best you can of today.
Yeah.
If you can help a few people, even better.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
That's
And it's-
exactly it.
Yeah. That's basically all we do,
Well,
We
it
do a
works.
lot of exercise. Sorry, go on.
Mhm.
Right, and it's great. I know I heard, or Mark told me about these groups
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, or maybe
Yeah.
more. But I've never heard of one being done in like you're telling us.
Yeah.
They really do happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Just-
is
yeah.
way cool.
Yeah.
That is just way cool. So you're going to call them Pause and Recover. Is that because
Yeah.
you're going to try and market them more, or?
I think it's something to do with that. Yeah, because there's a couple of like doctors over here, we say psychologists, whatever. I think they're in the NHS, and they would sort of do ACT, but it's not the ACT that we do. It'd be more
Oh no.
Dave Hayes' ACT.
Yeah,
which
let's
is
stop
great.
a second.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't really mean to diss on Steve Hayes's
No,
act.
no, it's brilliant. I love
right,
that.
right,
ACT.
but
If
it
it's
ain't
not
gonna.
centered on
It's not
drugs.
gonna work with this population.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So
not
what it
this
is-
stuff.
yeah, I didn't mean that because I listened to that
Yeah,
guy a
no.
lot myself. Yeah.
No, we don't know. But
Yeah.
just know that if you come to this population trying to do, what most people would call traditional act,
Yeah.
you will
Yeah.
lose them so fast. They
Exactly.
won't come back.
Now
You've
you
only
have-
got a few minutes to get them.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Because a lot of the guys that would do the original act, we say the psychotherapists, all that in the NHS, they haven't got the people skills to work with a group like that.
Mm.
And it's not that because they haven't got the experience, the lived experience.
Exactly.
Right? And as you say, they will just eat them, so they will tear them apart.
Yeah.
They're like throwing a rabbit into a load of lions.
Oh,
That's just the long and short of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because even when Mark speaks, sometimes they sort of be a bit.
Yeah.
We don't really even like. No, that's being out straight about it. Mark is great at the science, and he's great at telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And I can then deliver it to them.
Yeah.
in
I
their
love it.
terms.
I love it. Exactly.
And then
That's
you
right.
and you model it to them.
So, and Will, and Paul, you got it. Phil and I just love hearing about the Matrix, the Act
Yeah.
Matrix on the streets.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
That's
talking
it.
about it on the streets, and that's
Yeah.
it. You got it on the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm down in the
Down
sewers. I have my sleeves rolled up, and I'm trying to help them out of the sewers
Yeah.
because I was there before.
Yeah. Get them out of the muck.
Yeah, exactly. And I know how to get them out, and they take my hand.
Yes.
Yep.
You see, where someone else talking like
Yeah.
that done the grace, which is great to have done all that, but
Oh,
they just
yeah.
sort of
With
say,
with the
"Oh,
right
you're not."
right, with the right population, that's
Exactly
great.
the thing to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
This isn't that population.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so no. So wow, this is so cool. So it sounds like you, Mark, will be doing some more marketing to get more of these groups
Yeah.
going.
Oh, there's other groups. There's one in St. Helens. A woman does it up there. A lady that's involved with us. There's actually another group. I think there's another 2 groups in Manchester. So we go around speaking to different places. There's a couple of groups down Southampton, I think, and Leicester way. So like it's starting to
Take off.
Yeah.
it's starting to take off big time. That's why we've done the 2 presentations during the week.
Sure.
But it's a thing called Recovery Month over here. So like they all want to be part of ACT because where ACT is, it's succeeding. And it's the most popular groups, has the most success stories.
Now, where's that at?
ACT. It's
Oh,
in
ACT.
Manchester, Leicester. So what I'm just saying, when we do groups,
Yeah.
they're flourishing.
Yeah.
The success stories coming from the groups.
That's
Generating
Right.
change, right.
So the powers that be, listen, if they're not getting on board with ACT, they're losing out.
I
Simple as
love it.
that. That's the long and short.
Interesting.
It's very
Yeah.
interesting, and it's great because
Well, it speaks to our experience too, Kevin.
it does, and many people, and I will say even Steve Hayes and others included, which are, well, we need to go do a whole bunch of research and then let that research prove to people how it's working.
Yeah.
Then we can do a big implementation of this stuff and all that. And mine was, why don't we just let some people use it?
Yeah.
And if it really works for them, they'll probably tell other people that it really works for them.
Yeah.
And we can grow it up. They call it here in the States grassroots.
Yeah, from the ground up.
Exactly. Yeah.
From the ground up. And
Yeah,
it sounds like that's exactly what you've been doing, is building it from the ground up.
Yeah. And it's growing big time,
Yeah.
Right. And then eventually it gets so big that the powers that be just have to come along.
Mm-hmm.
They have no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
They're either, because if they're not part of the explosion that ACT is having at the moment, they're back. They're not in the know. If you know what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep.
Right. Because it'd be like if somewhere in computer terms has this new fancy new drive or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're not part of that, you're left behind.
You are not on the bus. You're not on the bus.
No, exactly. But that's the way ACT is here, because as people that have been there leading other people out of that cesspool that's addiction onto productive lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can't deny. You don't have to look for research.
You don't
You
have
only
to
have to come in and look what's happening in front of your eyes.
Right there, exactly.
Right in front of you. You can come in any Friday into my group in Salford, Tuesday into Bolton, another group in Ancoats, another one here and there, right? You can walk in and see real life miracles in front of you using the matrix.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Quite simple. You don't have to get any fancy diploma. It's happening. And then people all have families that are happy because they're alive. And the bigger effect then from the families not all, like, it's not like families would be divided, because some of the family would be sort of loyal to the person and want to try and help them. Other halves would be like, want to just cut them loose.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh, he just keeps doing this.
Right.
And then there's conflict in the family. The family is splitting over the loyalties. And then that trickles down to nieces, nephews, grandchildren, because they're going home. We say, oh, she's, and they're arguing. So the wave, when one person gets clean, the actual wave of peace, for a better word, and health and less stress, it goes so far.
Yeah. Fix all their relationships, right?
Yeah, everywhere. That way. So, I mean, people that back, Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, for one thing, and I'm sure that's why you're interested in downloading this podcast. You can help distribute this podcast.
Yeah.
So people will find out more about these. We're in the middle of names right now. It's going to be called Pause and Recover.
Yeah.
But right now it's called
ACT Peer Recovery.
ACT
Peer Recovery.
Peer Recovery Group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get both in there so people can see both. I'm just putting the title of the podcast in.
Yeah.
Wonder why I can't spell recovery. There we go. I got it. That's because I'm trying to talk and type at the same time.
Yeah.
But I do, as we're doing this, a title for the podcast usually shows up. Yeah. That's language that Phil and I like to use a lot, is the show up language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in ours, it's like, oh, so the not once showed up.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And doesn't have to be any reason for them to show up. They just
no,
show
up. They're always ready just to pounce, isn't they?
Ever present, aren't they?
Come here. I'm after having armies of them coming at me here today.
Armies, I love it.
Oh,
waves of them, right?
Oh, do you know what? Especially at the start when I couldn't get the picture on. I was like,
oh yeah.
You're just but you've done great, Paul. I mean, you took to this like a fish in the water. This is great. This modern technology of doing
I just never used that Zoom, you know, so I wasn't sure that I'd done something wrong, and that was making me, loads of not once by ganging up at that stage.
Lower left stuff. There it is.
Right,
Oh,
lower
they
left
were,
stuff.
they were.
Right.
That was
Back to our folks not as familiar folks. Phil, Paul, others that use this a lot. We'll talk about the lower left stuff showing up, which is the not once, and man, they can show up in way less than a second. Microseconds, those things will show up, and he's referring to. So he's trying to get logged on to talk to Phil and I today, and we've all been there. And just as soon as something hitches up, your parts of your mind is going, you know, just give up. Oh my God, you know.
We call it Aruga time. It's Aruga, Mayday.
Aruga, emergency, bad, you know, and all this, and we've all been there. Well, those are the not once, and then you'll but most people can figure out how to hold on to those, and then go ahead and do the stuff that you need to do. But we've all had times when we said to heck with it and turn something off.
Yeah.
And,
that could be workable too. Yeah.
It could be workable, but
it did come in. That thought did come in. For a split second, I was like, I knew I'd make a mess of this. These were starting to win. Right? The lower left was starting to win. And I was like, just press the computer off. And I said, no. I had to press my pause button very quickly. Take a deep breath and say no. Because I would have felt really guilty later on. I would have started feeling like a failure. Then they would start ganging up more. And of course, when that starts happening, somewhere, drugs make a little
urge to you.
There you go. Right.
So
you've really
Paul's just taking us through his matrix of even getting signed on to this podcast. And folks learn from that because we all do it. And we have more than one of those episodes every day.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
We all do. I don't care who you are. You have those little episodes. And if you can learn to hit the pause button and go, whoa, no, what's important here?
Yes.
let's hang in here. Let's go. And you do it. And I will say that all people have managed to get onto this podcast. But
in similar situations.
In similar situations. And I can't say, in the old days before this very modern technology, Phil and I had lots of those days.
Oh, yeah. Including the whole thing just shutting down right in the middle.
Back pre-2010, forget about it, man. It was bad out here. But now in 2019, which is when this is being recorded, September the 30th.
It is near the end, yeah. Tomorrow's the 1st.
Tomorrow's 1st of October. But now the technology is quite robust, and people can get on, and which is good. So we'll invite more, and you can have more of your guests or whatever. Anybody who wants to come on and talk to us about this kind of. Well, I want to use a longer term for it. It's the ACT matrix for people dealing with severe substance use issues.
That's in a nutshell.
Right. And it's a very important population, and one that the ACT matrix does a good job with.
And you know what, Kevin? The thing about it is that you see them not once. Mm-hmm. When you've crawled out that cesspool of addiction, you have more not once than most people out there just walking the streets.
Yep.
So the matrix really comes into its own there.
Yep.
And you really have to use the matrix really well, or else you're in trouble.
You got to know you're not once.
You've got to know them, and you've got to press that pause button. You got to notice all day long.
Yeah. All day long. Yep. Notice the not once and pause. Notice the not once and pause.
Keep your eye on the direction.
Right. Yeah. And it's now that goes back to something we talk about. It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
It is a skill. It doesn't take a long time to learn, but it takes You can get started in obviously less than an hour. You can get started, but then you're going to need to practice for a while. And it's nice to come into a community gathering like you do, and get help and reminders to keep practicing.
Exactly.
Right. Keep practicing. Keep finding that direction and that steering wheel.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to it, and that's where the support comes in. Humans are social animals. It's nice to get support. Which, by the way, of course, if you have severe substance use, you oftentimes lose your supports.
Yeah.
Of course you do. You end up on your own.
Yep. You end up
away from it.
All right, and so great stuff. So anytime you want to come back, you do so.
Yeah.
And this has been great. And
Okay.
so and if anybody wants to, I know Paul, he's probably not quite as out there on email and stuff as I am. You want to get a hold of him, send me an email, and I'll get a hold of him.
Yeah.
And
No problem.
We'll get you in touch.
Okay.
Or Phil, either one of us.
Yeah, either one of us.
Okay.
Phil and I are
just do knock off.
What's that?
Just press off, will you?
Oh no, don't go anywhere yet.
So he was finishing it up.
Don't go, we're finishing up, but we're only finishing up the recording section of this.
Okay.
So we'll sign off and we'll say bye to everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, support our podcast. Go to the Act Matrix Academy and become certified and support the podcast, all that good stuff. We always got to throw that in. What the heck?
Yeah.
And we'll stop recording. Bye for today.
Bye.
And Paul, stay right there.
All right. Bye.